What did I say last week, guys? What did I say last week?
And it really makes me think that we're currently in the golden age of Aeroplan miles.
And in fact, after we published the video last week, a little voice in my head was telling me that the golden age of Aeroplan has only begun. And this week, we got sweet confirmation. Aeroplan this week has announced their best ever redemption offer. It's known as the 50% miles back promotion, and just like the name implies, it'll give you 50% of the miles that you redeem back into your Aeroplan account after you travel on Air Canada flights within Canada and the US by a certain date. And this effectively slashes the cost of these flights by a half. And that's of course a pretty unbelievably generous offer. So in this video, we're gonna talk about all the details that you need to know in order to maximize the offer when you're traveling domestically with your Aeroplan miles this summer and fall. Before we get started, if you're enjoying these videos and you appreciate having these regular updates and breakdowns at a time when the loyalty space is changing more than it's staying the same, when there's a lot of new things happening, then please do hit the like button and subscribe to the Prince of Travel YouTube channel. It really helps me out and really tells YouTube that I'm doing a good job and encourages them to share the video with even more users, especially if you hit like and subscribe right now just as the video is starting. And with that said, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, you know how it goes. We're going to start by talking about all the details of the Aeroplan 50% miles back promotion. We're going to go through all the little angles and advantages that you can get when you're looking to travel domestically with this 50% discount. And then we're going to zoom out a bit and talk about how this Aeroplan 50% miles back promotion fits into the overall Air Canada and Aeroplan strategy as they build towards launch, as well as how it compares to other options for domestic travel at this time. So, what are the key pieces of information to know about this promotion? Well, when you redeem Aeroplan miles on a new booking between June 17th and July 1st, for travel between July 1st and October 15th, on flights operated by Air Canada within Canada or the United States, then you'll receive 50% of the miles that you used to redeem back into your account within 3 weeks after travel is completed. Now, those are basically all the rules. You have to book by a certain date, July 1st, you have to travel by a certain date, October 15th, and your travel has to be on Air Canada operated flights, so anything like United Airlines or any of the domestic Canadian partners are going to be excluded. And your flight has to be within Canada and the United States. Everything else is fair game. So to answer some of the more frequently asked questions, yes, Canada and the United States includes Hawaii and Alaska. Yes, the promotion is valid on both business class and economy class and premium economy as well. Yes, the promotion is going to be valid on Aeroplan fixed mileage rewards and on market fare rewards. And finally, yes, the promotion is going to be valid on one-way, round-trip, and multi-city bookings, which are really just round-trip bookings with a stopover in between. So with that knowledge, let's take a look at the Aeroplan reward charts to see how many miles a flight within Canada and the US would normally cost, followed by how many miles it actually effectively costs these days thanks to the 50% miles back promotion. Here's an excerpt of the reward chart that shows you the prices between Canada and the continental US, and then we have Hawaii included as well. Now, we're going to mainly focus on the economy and business class price points because those are the cabins of service in which there are the most seats on Air Canada flights. We see that within Canada and the continental USA, a round-trip flight in economy class costs either 15,000 or 25,000 miles, depending on if it's short-haul or a long-haul flight. Meanwhile, for business class, it's going to be either 30,000 or 50,000 miles for a round trip. Now, in case you need a reminder about the difference between a short haul and a long haul flight, well, we've actually covered this topic on the channel before in the form of the Aeroplan short haul sweet spot, which is really beneficial to folks in Quebec and Atlantic Canada, as well as other parts of Canada as well. So go back and watch this video if you need a refresher on the best uses of the short haul sweet spot. Anyway, if we go back to the chart, we'll see that flights over to Hawaii will cost either 45,000 miles in economy class round trip or 80,000 miles in business class round trip. And of course, with the 50% miles back promotion, all of these price points are instantly halved. And as a result, we've got some pretty amazing sweet spots on this new effective price point award chart that we see here. You'll see that a short-haul round-trip flight in economy class only costs 7,500 miles, which means that you could book a one-way flight for as little as 3,750 miles, which is just a staggeringly low price point. And it's also pretty incredible that you'll only need 12,500 miles to fly anywhere that Air Canada flies across all four corners of the continent, including places like Whitehorse, Yellowknife, St. John's, Miami, and Los Angeles. And if you want to treat yourself to business class, whether that's on the lie-flat seats on the Boeing 787 Dreamliner or the newly designed ergonomic seats on the Airbus A220, then that's only going to be 25,000 Aeroplan miles for the round trip in business class. If we look at the price points for a flight to Hawaii as well, we see that they're also very generous. 22,500 miles for a round trip in economy or 40,000 miles for a round trip in business is a very, very attractive deal, especially if you live on the east side of Canada, and it would normally cost, quite a bit if you were to pay cash for a flight over to the Hawaiian Islands. So as you can see, the effective 50% discount on the award pricing results in some amazing sweet spots across the board, making this a fantastic opportunity to book some domestic travel. And the best part is the possibilities to piece together a memorable trip across multiple places in Canada only increase when you consider the ability to add a stopover on a round-trip flight and the ability to combine long-haul and short-haul redemptions into a single trip. And here's an example of what I mean. Let's say you lived in Vancouver and you wanted to visit Toronto, Montreal, Halifax, and St. John's all in one trip. Well, here's what you could do. You could book a round-trip flight from Vancouver to Montreal with a stopover in Toronto on the way back. And this would count as a long-haul North America redemption, which would ordinarily cost you 25,000 miles in economy class, but now it's going to cost you only 12,500 miles in economy class. Now, within this long-haul redemption, you're going to nest a short-haul redemption starting out of Montreal. So what you're going to book is Montreal to St. John's as your destination with a stopover in Halifax on the way back. And that's going to count as one short-haul award, which is normally 15,000 miles, but will now be only 7,500 Aeroplan miles thanks to the 50% miles back promotion. In total, you get to spend as much time as you want in 4 cities across 4 provinces, and you've only paid 20,000 Aeroplan miles for this whole trip. And in fact, if you did want to splurge for business class and treat yourself to the lie-flat seats on the Dreamliner between Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal, then you could upgrade the whole thing to business class for only 40,000 miles in business class, and that's compared to the normal cost of 80,000 Aeroplan miles. And believe it or not, there's actually further room to optimize here, because in addition to the one stopover on a round-trip flight, you can actually build your own custom layovers on an Aeroplan redemption. You just have to keep the layover duration to 12 hours instead of 24 hours. So as long as you can find the right flights with the right schedules, and you're willing to call Aeroplan to make the booking over the phone, then you can actually slot in, let's say, lunch with a friend in Calgary, or an overnight stay in Saskatoon, or maybe a day trip in Quebec City along the way. I've actually done this kind of trip before where I took like 7 or 8 flights across Canada over the span of 3 days and got to see a little bit of each place. It was pretty exhausting in the end, but I thought it was worth doing as a one-time thing. All right, so now that we've gone over the sweet spots, what are some of the key caveats or things to be aware of when it comes to the 50% miles back? The first thing to be aware of is that even though it's effectively a 50% discount on the price of an award ticket, you only get that 50% mileage rebate back into your account within 3 weeks after travel has been completed. So you actually still need the full amount of miles in your account in order to make the booking in the first place. The other thing to think about, of course, is how safe will you feel about traveling within Canada and the US, and how realistic will it be to actually travel to other provinces. Right now, most provinces don't have any sort of 14-day mandatory quarantine rules upon arrival, but some do, such as the Atlantic provinces, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland. And then also the Canadian territories have closed their borders to visitors for the time being, and traveling to the US is a bit of a risky proposition given their much higher caseloads south of the border. So if you're thinking about going to these places, then it may be more prudent to book for later on during the travel window, whether that's, say Labor Day holiday in September or Thanksgiving in October. in the hopes that the local transmissions will reduce by then and that the travel restrictions will be lifted. Don't forget that Aeroplan is currently allowing members to cancel any reservations free of charge before August 31st. So what you can do right now is you can make as many bookings as your mileage balance will allow before July 1st in order to qualify for the 50% miles back. And then later on, if you're still dealing with the provincial travel restrictions, if you're not sure about taking the trip anymore, you can always cancel before August 31st to get a full refund of your miles and the taxes with no penalty charge. So that's the rundown of the 50% miles back promotion. It's obviously a stellar promotion that'll help a lot of Canadians travel domestically over the next couple of months, and I hope that many of you are able to take advantage of it. And with that, let's finish off the video by talking a little bit about how these series of promotions, this 50% miles back, travel at home from before, and the 115% buy miles promotion from before, how they all fit into Air Canada and Aeroplan's strategy as they build up to the launch of the new loyalty program in Q4 of 2020. I must say that for those of us in the community who like to maximize our credit cards and the loyalty programs, we're probably more accustomed to receiving bad news than good news. I mean, we're obviously very excited when there's good news, but usually when we think about loyalty program changes, we're preparing for the worst. We're preparing for the worst news to arrive so that we won't be utterly disappointed. And that's why I kind of feel like all these exciting promotions that Air Canada and Aeroplan have been doing over the past few months, in terms of both earning and redeeming points, has kind of blindsided us. It's kind of caught us by surprise because we're really not used to a loyalty program delivering so much good news in such a short period of time. But I think if you were to consider the fact that Aeroplan is now owned by Air Canada instead of a separate entity of its own, then it actually makes a lot of sense what they've been doing over the past few months, and there's good reason why we can expect it to continue for the next little while. Hence the fact that I think that we're entering Aeroplan's golden age, as I've stated before. I mean, look, when the pandemic hit, Air Canada had two pressing problems that it needed to address. One, nobody was flying, so it needed a way to engage its most loyal customers. And two, nobody was flying, so it was running short on cash because nobody was booking any flights. And by using the tool of the loyalty program, Air Canada was able to very effectively address both of these concerns. They were able to remain engaged with their most loyal customers by making it easy for them to earn status at home through the travel at home promotion, and they were able to raise a lot of cash by selling miles at a 115% bonus, which resulted in one of the lowest mileage prices that we've ever seen across any loyalty program in general. And now that members have earned over 5.5 billion Aeroplan miles, thanks to an infographic that Air Canada shared this week, Air Canada has raised their cash, they've kept members engaged, but now they have a huge liability on the balance sheet in terms of all these outstanding miles in members' accounts. And what do they do about this huge liability on the books? Well, they incentivize members to burn up their miles on this 50% miles back promotion at a very low cost to the airline. Because remember, all these flights within Canada and the US were going to be operated anyway. Keeping in mind, of course, that the onboard service, the onboard food and drink, and the lounges at the airports are all closed for the time being. So there's not really that much of an incremental cost for an additional passenger to be traveling for free on one of these flights. So when you zoom out a little bit, you can pretty clearly see all these promotions and all these exciting developments for what they truly are. Strategic decisions by the airline to solve their problems and to keep members engaged. So I know that in last week's video, I had said that we're entering the golden age of Aeroplan, and right now Air Canada's hyping up the program a lot in advance of the launch of the new program. But if Air Canada had any wits about them, then they would keep this trend going through the launch of the new program and continue using the Aeroplan loyalty program as a key tool in their arsenal to achieve their business strategies and their business goals and solve any problems on the business side as well. And in the meantime, those of us who are not very accustomed to this steady flow of good news, those of us who've been burned, betrayed, and bonvoyed by loyalty programs one too many times in the past, well, we're left to wonder, what's the catch? What's going to be the bad news at the end of all this? It's very natural to have that skepticism, but I would say that if you're preoccupied with, what's the catch? What's going to be the devaluation? Don't forget to live in the moment and enjoy the ride. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you found this video helpful in understanding the unprecedented Aeroplan 50% miles back promotion, and I hope that many of you are able to take advantage of this and book a couple of trips within Canada or the United States over the next 10 days or so before the booking window ends on July 1st in order to travel at half the usual price. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the Prince of Travel YouTube channel. Just click the subscribe button below the video. And I'm very curious, which destinations are you going to be booking within Canada or the United States using your Aeroplan miles to get those 50% miles back? Maybe Banff National Park, maybe Newfoundland, maybe Hawaii after lockdown is lifted. Let me know and I'll see you next week. Between June 17th and July 1st, for travel between July 1st and October 15th, on Air Canada flights within Canada and the US, you will earn, you will receive